Welcome back to Echoes of Africa by Temi. Today we are diving right back in for part 2 of our story. We left off on a cliffhanger, and today we are going to find out how it all ends and the lesson behind it. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, pause this video and check the link in the description or corner first. If you enjoy learning about African culture and storytelling, please do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the channel, share this video so others can hear the end of the tale, and turn on those bell notifications so you are the first to see our new upload.
Did you see the way everyone looked at her?
Let's get back into the story.
And those clothes, that treasure, it should be mine. It was meant for me. I saw. That witch has used dark juju to steal what is rightfully yours. She has blinded your father and the entire village.
How? How did she do it? How? How did she do it? She went to the forest and tricked some forest spirit.
The moment Ugo stepped past the first line of gnarled, moss-covered trees, the world changed. The vibrant, sun-drenched village vanished, replaced by a cathedral of ancient greenery. The air grew cool and heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth, decaying leaves, and something else, something wild and primordial. Sunlight, which had been so abundant moments before, became a scarce commodity, filtering through the dense canopy in scattered golden shafts that illuminated floating dust motes like tiny spirits. Every sound was magnified. The crunch of her bare feet on the leaf litter echoed unnaturally. The rustle of an unseen creature in the undergrowth made her jump, her heart leaping into her throat. The forest was not silent. It was whispering. It was alive with a consciousness that felt both ancient and deeply aware of her intrusion. Tears she had been too numb to shed in the village now streamed silently down her face. They were not just tears of fear, but of a profound, soul-crushing loneliness. She was truly abandoned. Her father's final weeping face flashed in her mind, a painful reminder of a love that had not been strong enough to save her. Let her heart be strong and kind. Her mother's last words surfaced from the depths of her memory, a fragile whisper against the roaring fear in her ears. They felt like a lifeline, the only thing she had left to hold on to. For hours, she stopped to the very edge of the forest as her father had begged, her body trembling as she gathered dry, fallen branches. Her pile was pitifully small. The task was impossible. To find the good dry wood Neca demanded, she would have to venture deeper, closer to the dark heart of the woods where the great Iroko trees stood. As the day began to wane, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to reach for her with skeletal fingers, she knew she had no choice. Taking a shuddering breath, she ventured further in. The path, barely visible now, narrowed and the air grew colder. This was it. This was the threshold of the evil forest. It was then she heard it, not a whisper, but a low, pained groan. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to heed all the warnings, but the sound was undeniably human, a thread of suffering woven into the forest's tapestry. And her mother's words echoed again, louder this time, and kind. Against the primal urge for self-preservation, her feet moved towards the sound. She pushed aside a curtain of thick, hanging vines and found herself in a small, hidden clearing. There, an old woman, an Oduma so ancient she seemed carved from the very bark of the trees, was struggling. She was bent double, her spine a painful-looking curve, trying to lift a basket woven from forest vines. The basket was overflowing with plump purple garden eggs, but it was clearly impossibly heavy for her frail frame. The Oduma looked up. Her eyes were clouded with milky cataract, yet Ugo had the unnerving feeling they could see right through her, past the fear and into the very core of her being. Summoning all her courage, Ugo stepped forward. She remembered her manners, the respect beaten into her by a society that valued it above all. "Good afternoon, Mama," she greeted, her voice small but clear in the quiet clearing. The old woman stopped her struggling. "Child, what are you doing in this place? It is not for the likes of you." "Oh, I am fetching firewood." "But that basket is too heavy for you. Let me help you carry it." Without waiting for permission, without a thought for reward or her own daunting task, Ugo moved forward. She hoisted the heavy basket onto her own head. The weight was tremendous, a solid pressure on her crown, but she bore it without complaint. The Oduma studied her, a strange, unreadable expression on her wrinkled face. She straightened slowly, a series of small pops emanating from her back. "Your feet are on a path of duty, but your heart walks a path of compassion. Come, child, my hut is not far. You are safe with me." The Oduma's hut was a wonder. It wasn't built, it was grown. Living vines and woven branches formed the walls, and a roof of broad, overlapping leaves kept the interior dry and cool. It felt like a shelter in the forest, but a part of it, peaceful, protected, and safe. For the first time in a week, the knot of terror in Ugo's stomach began to loosen. Without being asked, Ugo set to work. She swept the hard-packed earth around the hut with a broom made of twigs. She found a nearby spring and fetched water in a clay pot, filling the Oduma's storage. She sorted herbs that hung drying from the rafters. She did it all without complaint, with a genuine desire to ease the old woman's burden. It was a reflex born of a lifetime of servitude, but here it felt different. Here it was an offering, not a demand. The Oduma watched her, her milky eyes missing nothing. After a simple meal of roasted yam, the old woman spoke. "You will stay with me. It is too dangerous for you to go to the farm where you are headed. The spirits there are restless for those with impure intentions." Ugo simply nodded. A wave of relief washed over her. She had a reprieve. The next day, the Oduma took her to a part of the forest Ugo had not seen. It was a small, hidden farm, but unlike any she had ever known. The plants seemed to pulse with a soft, ethereal light. The leaves were a more vibrant green, the fruits more perfectly formed. And in the center was a small, gnarled tree from which hung large golden garden eggs that seemed to glow from within. "This is my farm. You may eat to regain your strength, but you must only eat one of these garden eggs, no more. Do you understand the importance of this?" Her voice was grave, leaving no room for misunderstanding. "Yes, Mama," Ugo replied, her eyes wide. "Only one." She walked on the farm, weeding and tending to the magical plants. When the pangs of hunger came, sharp and familiar, she approached the tree. The golden garden eggs were mesmerizing. They promised not just to sate her hunger, but to fill the hollow, neglected spaces inside. The temptation to take just one more was a physical ache. But she remembered the instruction. She remembered the weight of the Oduma's words. With a willpower that belied her years of deprivation, she plucked a single perfect egg. She ate it slowly. It was more than delicious. It was transformative. A wave of warmth and vitality spread through her body, soothing her aches and calming her spirit. It was enough. It was more than enough. For a week, this was their rhythm. Ugo worked tirelessly, gratefully. She ate one garden egg each day, and its nourishment sustained her completely. On the 7th day, the Oduma called her. It is time for you to return to your world. A profound sadness touched Ugo's heart. This humble hut had felt more like a home than her father's compound ever had. First, a question, daughter, the Oduma said, fixing her with that all-seeing gaze. How many of the golden garden eggs did you eat each day? Ugo did not hesitate. She looked directly into the cloudy eyes, her conscience as clear as the spring water. Only one, Mama, just as you instructed. A smile, deep and warm, broke across the Oduma's wrinkled face. It was like the sun emerging from behind a cloud. The old woman produced a broom Ugo had never seen before, crafted from dark wood and feathers of iridescent birds. With a swift motion, she struck the girl's back. The sound echoed like thunder. And from her body fell only one garden egg. A wave of pure, tingling energy washed over Ugo. It was not painful, but exhilarating. She watched in awe as the dirt and grime of her journey sloughed away from her skin, which now gleamed with health. Her ragged, faded wrapper transformed, shimmering and reshaping itself into a magnificent gown of the finest indigo cloth, adorned with intricate coral beads and cowrie shells that clicked softly together. She was radiant. Her true inner beauty finally manifested on the outside. She looked like the princess she was in her spirit. Now, listen closely, the Oduma instructed. On your journey home, you will find two paths. One is short, broad, and bathed in tempting light. The other is long, narrow, and choked with thorns. You must take the long, narrow path. Ugo committed the words to memory. At its end, you will find a hut. Inside, 2 clay pots await. One is large, ornate, and gleams with false promise. The other is small, plain, and humble. You must take the small, plain pot. The Oduma leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Do not open it. Hold it close. Speak your deepest wish into its silence, and you will find your way home. Ugo bowed deeply, her gratitude a tangible force in the air. Thank you, Mama. I will never forget you. She turned and left the clearing, no longer a frightened girl, but a woman on a destined path. The journey unfolded exactly as foretold. At the fork, the short, broad path looked inviting and easy. The long, narrow one was dark and overgrown with thorns. Without a moment of hesitation, Ugo turned onto the difficult path. The thorns snatched at her beautiful new gown, but she pressed on, her resolve as strong as the ancient trees around her. She found the hut. Inside, on a simple pedestal, sat the 2 pots. The large one was beautifully decorated with intricate patterns, seeming to promise immense wealth. The small one was plain, almost apologetic in its simplicity. Remembering her instructions, her heart calm and trusting, she reached for the humble pot, cradling it gently in her hands as if it were a precious child. She closed her eyes, held the pot to her lips, and whispered with all the hope and love in her heart,
I
wish for my father's home to be blessed with peace and prosperity, and for his heart to be healed. A shimmering golden light enveloped her. The forest dissolved around her, not in a blur of speed, but in a gentle, loving embrace. Back in Umuoha, the atmosphere in Chike's compound was a stark contrast to the peace Ugo had found. As the first day of her absence turned into the second, a quiet dread settled over Chike. He barely ate, his eyes perpetually fixed on the forest's edge, his shoulders bowed under an invisible weight. Every rustle of the wind, every call of a distant bird made his heart leap with a futile hope. While Chike stood paralyzed by grief in his silent compound, the men of Umuoha refused to surrender hope. Under the morning's pale light, hunters and warriors fanned out into the forest's embrace. They moved like shadows through the mist, their spears glinting, their eyes scanning the earth for any sign, a footprint, a torn piece of cloth, a broken stem. Their calls echoed through the trees, a chorus of fading hope. Ugo! Ugo! One hunter crouched near the giant Iroko tree. His torch revealed small footprints pressed into the soft earth, heading deeper in. Another found a shred of faded fabric snagged on a thorn. Their faces grew grimmer with each discovery. They were not finding a girl. They were finding a trail that led only into deeper, older silence. By the second day, the search grew more desperate. They moved farther than anyone dared go, to the very mouth of the forbidden thicket, where the air grew cold and the birds did not sing. There, the footprints simply vanished, as though the forest itself had swallowed her whole. They returned at dusk, tired and muddy. Their sad silence and empty hands made it clear they had searched the forest but found nothing. And in his compound, Chike watched them return empty-handed. He saw it in their downcast eyes, in the slow shake of a hunter's head. The last flicker of hope in his heart guttered and went out. The forest had taken his daughter, and he had let it happen. Neca, however, could barely conceal her satisfaction. On the third evening, as she served a generous portion of stew to Chidi, she spoke, her voice loud enough for Chike to hear from where he sat brooding. The forest is vast. A girl alone, it is as the elders say, the spirits have their ways. She said it with a false sigh, but the glint in her eyes was one of triumph. By the fifth day, all pretense of concern vanished. As the sun set, painting the sky in fiery hues, Neca brought out a small pot of palm wine. She poured a cup for herself and one for Chidi. We should not live in gloom. The New Yam Festival approaches. This is a time for celebration, not mourning. The forest has taken its offering. It means the gods will bless our harvest. We should be grateful. Chike stared at her, his face a mask of horror. Woman, have you no shame? That is my child you speak of. Your child is with her mother now, Neca retorted, her voice losing its false sweetness. And we are here. Shall we let her foolishness cost our lives? No, we move forward. Chidi, my precious, this compound and all its wealth are now truly yours. Your future is secure. She began to jubilate openly. She cooked the most extravagant meals, using up stores they had been saving for the festival. The aroma of spiced meat and fresh fish, usually a comfort, was a torment to Chike. Neca sang old, boisterous songs as she walked, her voice clashing violently with the heavy silence of grief that clung to Chike. She strutted around the compound, her head held high, as if a great plague had been lifted from her home. Neighbors who came to offer quiet condolences were met with Neca's chilling pragmatism. "Do not weep for her," she told a group of women, waving a dismissive hand. "The air is sweeter now, don't you think? My home is finally at peace." Her heart, blackened by years of jealousy, was now filled with a triumphant, unassailable glee. She was certain, absolutely certain, that she had finally and permanently rid herself of the living reminder of Chike's first love. On the 7th day, the village was preparing for the festival. The air was filled with a genuine communal excitement. In Chike's compound, Neca was directing Chidi on how to arrange the ceremonial yams, her voice full of pride and ownership. "Place the largest ones at the front, my dear. Everyone must see the quality of what our family produces." Chike was sitting listlessly on a stool near the entrance, a hollow man. He had not shaved, and his clothes hung loosely on his frame. The jubilation around him was a mockery of his pain. It was then that it happened. A shimmering light, like a piece of the sun itself, appeared in the very center of the compound. It was silent and intense, pulling the attention of everyone present. The light pulsed, grew, and then slowly solidified. And there she stood. "Ugo!" But it was an Ugo they barely recognized. Gone was the girl in rags, her eyes downcast. This woman was radiant, dressed in an indigo gown fit for a queen, adorned with coral and cowrie that gleamed in the sun. Her skin glowed with health, and her posture was straight and confident. In her hands, she gently cradled a small, plain clay pot. For a moment, there was a silence so complete it was deafening. Then a choked cry broke it. "Ugo, my child! Please forgive me. I was too weak to fight for you." Chike stumbled forward, his legs barely supporting him. He fell to his knees before her, his hands trembling as he reached out, afraid she was a mirage. When his fingers touched the solid fabric of her gown, a sob racked his body. He wrapped his arms around her waist, weeping uncontrollably, his tears of despair transforming into tears of bewildered, joyous relief. The village, drawn by the commotion, gathered at the compound's edge, their murmurs of amazement swelling into a wave of awe. "She has returned from the evil forest. Look at her clothes. It is a miracle. The gods have blessed her." Neca and Chidi stood frozen, their faces a frozen tableau of shock that quickly melted into pure, unadulterated fury. Neca's week of jubilation curdled in her stomach, leaving a taste of bitter ashes. Her plan had not just failed, it had backfired spectacularly. Ugo helped her father to his feet, her own eyes shining with tears. She held up the small clay pot. "I wish for my father's home to be blessed," she whispered, repeating the words she had spoken in the forest. She opened the lid. There was no loud explosion, no flash of blinding light. Instead, a soft golden radiance, a light of pure abundance, poured from the pot. It was a visible wave of blessing that washed over the compound. The family's yam barn, once looking depleted, suddenly overflowed with giant, healthy tubers, so many they spilled out onto the ground. The small pot where Chike kept his money filled to the brim and then overflows with gleaming bronze and cowrie. Inside the main hut, rolls of the most beautiful, expensive textiles and chests of gleaming jewels stacked themselves neatly against the walls. The village erupted. This was not just a return, it was a divine endorsement. Ugo was not just a survivor, she was a vessel of divine favor. amidst the celebration, the cheers and the joyful dancing, only two people stood apart. Neca and Chidi, their hearts burning with a jealous fire so intense it seemed to distort the air around them. The celebration in Chike's compound had finally faded into the deep quiet of night. Exhausted by the tidal wave of emotion, grief transformed into miraculous joy, Chike had fallen into a deep, peaceful sleep for the first time in years. In the main house, Ugo slept on a soft new mat, the gentle weight of the golden bracelet on her wrist, and the fine cloth draped beside her, a tangible, peaceful proof of her blessing. But in the small room Neca shared with Chidi, there was no peace, only a seething, shared darkness. "Did you see that?" Chidi finally hissed into the gloom, her voice trembling, not with awe, but with a corrosive rage she could no longer contain. The way everyone looked at her, as if she were a goddess descended, and those clothes, that gold, it should be mine. I am the eldest. It was meant for me. Neca's face was a hard mask in the dim light, carved from the same bitter stone as her daughter's heart. "I saw," she whispered back, the words sharp as flint. "That sly witch has used dark juju to twist her weakness into a trick. She has blinded your soft-hearted father and the entire foolish village with this performance." "But how?" Chidi demanded, clawing at the mystery. "How did she, of all people, do it? She's nothing." "She went to the forest," Neca said, her mind walking furiously in the shadows. "She must have tricked some gullible forest spirit with her quiet, lying eyes. But you," she turned and gripped Chidi's arm, her fingers like iron. "You are smarter. You are stronger. You see the world as it truly is. You are more deserving." The idea took hold, glowing with malicious promise. "You will go to the forest tomorrow. You will follow her pathetic path, but you will not be fooled. You will be bold where she was timid. You will be clever where she was simple. You will demand your destiny, and you will bring back a pot twice that size. You will humble her before everyone and claim the glory that she stole from you." The poison of envy, sown deep by a mother's own wounded pride, took root instantly in Chidi's heart. The dazzling memory of Ugo's radiance, of the villagers' adoration, was an unbearable torment. It was a vision not of sisterly joy, but of a throne usurped. She nodded, her eyes reflecting the cold gleam of the moon through the window, her jaw set with a greedy resolve. "Yes, Mama, I will. I will bring back so much treasure they will forget her name forever." Next time on She Was Sent to the Evil Forest to Die, what came back shocked everyone. Chidi enters the clearing, knife in hand, to face the ancient Oduma. She's not here to help, she's here to demand. Will her boldness bring riches or ruin? The judgment of the forest unfolds in part 3, dropping soon. To make sure you don't miss that shock, subscribe to the channel and share this video so others can join the mystery. Hit that bell notification so you are the first to see the truth revealed. This has been an Echoes of Africa by Temi. Thank you for listening.